Good stuff. All right. So basically, let's just walk through, and I don't want to take up our entire time talking myself. I want to leave plenty of time for questions. And so, definitely going to want to do that. And so I'm going to just kind of run through this because I feel like if you're in the VCA residency, you probably at least have a bit of a background in this stuff. But I have found every residency, the four previous residencies, that the conversation, at least the other residents replied that it was very helpful because it at least gave a big overview that some of them did not have or did not understand. So I'm assuming, although I know that sometimes can turn out poorly, but I'm assuming that that you know something, but that you also it wouldn't be a bad thing to have a bit of an understanding of the broader ecosystem as a whole. And so that's kind of the goal of this talk, and I think the goal of this particular class for the residency. And so if you'll go to the next slide, Bria. And tell me, by the way, we've only talked via Discord, so if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, please correct me, all right?
Well, it's Boria, actually. So
Boria, thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
So, yeah, no, my bad. So, Boria, thank you so much. We've only talked, I think,
in writing, yeah.
In writing. So, yeah. So, anyway. All right. So, quick breakdown of these terms. You guys probably know them, but again, just trying not to assume anything. Cryptocurrency, it's a digital currency derived from cryptographic encryption. You can read the rest of that. I describe, and you can find a post I did even recently on Twitter, but a post I did on Tron DAO an article titled, "What is Crypto?" And in that article, I basically explain that crypto is currency, and to think of it otherwise, is actually probably not helpful in the overall scope of wanting to see more mass adoption. Because if we don't treat it like currency, if we don't think of cryptocurrency as what the name suggests, right, encrypted currency, then I think we don't treat it and create solutions for it that allow people to give it, to spend it, and to save it. And that, because that's what we do with currency, right? We give, spend, and save currency. And so otherwise, then it gets treated like an investment. It doesn't mean you can't grow an investment in cryptocurrency. You can, just like you can in any currency. But it isn't something that needs to only be treated like a stock or a commodity in the way that it often gets treated and thought about. So I tell people all the time that it's basically a way to do commerce within a specific tech community and a specific digital community. Now, I think where we'll go in the future is we'll see more of an augmented reality where physical and digital meet, and where we see spatial computing become more of an everyday norm in the same way that we've seen the internet become an everyday norm over the last 20 years. And so, and as that time comes, then digital commerce, digital community, and blockchain-based commerce and community will all really take kind of center stage in the way that we operate as a culture. And I think that's when you'll see why cryptocurrency actually is such a revolutionary invention. So speaking of that, the blockchain is basically a digital ledger, right? So like when you pull up a bank app on your phone, or you pull up a money management app on your phone, you're seeing a ledger, right, of all your transactions. And so a blockchain is a way that we do commerce and community. And when various transactions occur and various data is transferred, then people across a distributed network of computers validate and in essence create a block, right? And then that keeps going and the chain keeps growing. And depending upon the type of blockchain it is, that chain might spider out That chain might be more consecutive. So there's various ways that people go about it. And then smart contracts, I think, may be the most revolutionary aspect of what's happening. And you obviously are paying attention to smart contracts because if you're in the vertical crypto art residency, you use smart contracts to create unique art and collectibles and representations of things that allow people to feel like they have ownership and are a part of a community, right? And so you do what it's called NFTs. I do think eventually we'll come up with a different name for them because NFTs aren't, it isn't great branding, right? Because of mass adoption of this potentially. People don't really know what a non-fungible token is, but we'll figure that out as we move forward. I think you're seeing Starbucks use the word digital collect or the phrase digital collectibles and what they're doing. And so I'm not saying we should just follow corporate lead because I do believe decentralization is much better than the corporate centralization. However, I do think for more and more people to engage and the utility of why smart contracts are so important, I think we're going to have to see some new branding come. And so we'll see how that goes. Maybe some of you will come up with that. So let me pause right there and allow for questions on just some of these basic terms. And if there are no questions, we'll keep moving forward. All right, let's keep moving forward. So the next slide, what is Bitcoin? And if you have your sound up, Boria, this is a short video, right? And so if it doesn't work, that's okay. And if it does, I think if you click on it, it should work. If it doesn't work, I'll explain it and it's all good.
No, it's not working on my end.
Okay, good stuff. So Bitcoin, this is a short video that was put out by CryptoHeat.io that in about a minute and a half explains in very simple terms what Bitcoin is. And it was created originally for peer-to-peer exchange. And there's a lot more to it than that. You can read the Bitcoin white paper. But basically, Bitcoin has become more than just peer-to-peer exchange. But I will say that in countries where cryptocurrency is needed because of restrictive policies or government manipulation or lack of access to banks, in those types of situations, cryptocurrency is needed. It isn't just an investment, if that makes sense. In wealthier countries, you're seeing cryptocurrency be used more like it's only an investment, right? That's why since 2021, my family and I have really tried to treat it like a currency. And so I'd say anywhere between 15 and 20% of all of our expenses as a family since 2021, we've actually paid with cryptocurrency. And in some months, more than that, right? Like recently, I took my daughter who plays volleyball. She'll play college volleyball next year. We took her to a volleyball tournament and we paid for the entire weekend in cryptocurrency using one of the crypto MasterCard debit cards I have. And so, that type of thing happens. But if you go to certain countries where there's restrictive policies and governmental manipulation, then you'll see people using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies the way it probably was intended to be used originally. And that was to spend it for everyday needs. And so Bitcoin, though, has become more than that. It's become a store of value. And so, and even if you've seen it in the last 2 days, pop back up from 20,000 to 25,000 US dollar equivalent. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go in the future because Bitcoin is probably the centerpiece of all of the crypto conversation. The next slide is what is ETH, right? And ETH was a game changer because it basically introduced the ability to build decentralized applications and solutions on the blockchain. Not that you couldn't do that with Bitcoin, it just wasn't as prominent. especially because of proof of work, the consensus mechanism that it leveraged. But now ETH, which just moved to more of a proof of stake consensus mechanism, which allows more of a distributed network to stake ETH and then to have the ability to vote on how the blockchain is used. That type of validation system and governance system has created a different ability for ETH to be more eco-friendly, to be quicker, to be used with more use cases. And then all the layer 2 blockchains, the chains that have been built on top of Ethereum, that have come up over the last 5 years, you can see them really growing in significance. Polygon is obviously one of those. Anchor is one of those, and there are many more. Optimism is one of those, and there are many more. I only start with those two because they kind of laid the foundation for all of crypto. So let's go to the next slide. And here you'll see the evolution of cryptocurrency. Now, this is an out-of-date slide. It's one that was created a while back, so you can see it ends at 2018 and then looks at the future. But I like it a lot, though, because I think it helps people catch kind of the timeline of how we got to where we are, at least the foundation of it. And so I won't read it all to you. You can see it. And then you've got this in our chat, right? So you can save these 2 PDFs if you'd like and look through them later. But you can see Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, if it's an individual or a group, I personally think it's probably a group of people who worked together to create this decentralized network. That was 0809 when that really launched. Litecoin showed up because people thought we needed to come up with a better solution that was cheaper, move faster, blah, blah, blah. It has done well, obviously. It's a good alternative, but one that really, I think, rides the coattails of Bitcoin. Ripple gets a lot of debate as to whether it's even a cryptocurrency. That's XRP. But I will say the strength of Ripple is that they have committed themselves from the very beginning to bridging between fiat and current physical currencies with digital currencies. They've committed from the very beginning to be what will bridge and move money internationally. And you'll see that play out, especially starting next week. March 20th will be the launch day for what's called the ISO 20022 adoption program. And that's where every country by November 2025 has to move currency internationally with encrypted digital currency. And so that launches next week. So it's very interesting timing, all of the bank failures that are being dealt with right now and a lot of the issues that are coming up right now. And Ripple is in the middle of that whole conversation, if that makes sense. Then you can see Bitcoin did reach 1,000. It had another dip, a huge crypto winter. And then 2015, Ethereum launches. 2017, you see other cryptocurrencies launch. 2018, EOS trying to be more of a decentralized infrastructure. They still exist, but maybe got pushed out by a lot of the other competitors. And then one of my favorites, and I think one of y'all's favorites as well, Tezos, ended up showing up on the scene and really creating a very eco-friendly and fast and buildable solution. Obviously, Google believes in it too because they've become a node engaged. They do node engagement now with Tezos, which is pretty significant. Solana has massive security issues. You shouldn't have to shut your blockchain down, but nonetheless, we'll see if it fixes that. And then where we're really going in the future, like I said earlier, is interoperability. And so I want to show you a few of the blockchains that I think are really focused on interoperability and why they will really bring some other solutions. So let's kind of talk through some of that for a minute. On the next slide. Oh yeah, I meant to say this. Other terms that you're obviously familiar with in the ecosystem, Web3, right? Web 1 was write and read. Web 2 was buy and sell. Web 3 is create and share together. The next slide is NFTs. You know what that is, obviously, or you wouldn't be in the VerticalCrypto Art Residency. The next slide is a DAO. If you don't know what a DAO is, which I hope you do, I think you're going to see it increase significantly in utility and in usability. But it's a way that we can together have a purpose and invest in that purpose together. And so it's a decentralized autonomous organization. We can talk more about that. And then the metaverse, I personally think, is just one thing. Like the internet is one thing, and there are many ways that you access it. I think the metaverse is the metaverse, one metaverse, but there will be a lot of experiences that allow you to access what the metaverse really is. I don't think closed off goggles are the future. I do think that'll be a phase. And then the phase that'll really open things up will be more of a spatial computing and an augmented reality phase. And you'll see usable glasses, and we'll be able to have this conversation in the future where we're all in the same room together with our glasses on and experiencing it together and seeing each other if we want to do that with augmented reality. I'll be in your room, you'll be in my room. It'll be a happy day. All right, the next one is AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Tron, the blockchain that I'm content lead for. We just partnered with Chain to integrate artificial intelligence fully into everything we're doing on the blockchain. And I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of reasons. But one of them is to allow for better decisions and better smart contracts, and then better adjustments in the deployment and the execution of those smart contracts based upon the ways that artificial intelligence will allow us to leverage those. So go to that next slide, and I think that's when we jump into the crypto ecosystems. Let me pause right there and just see if anybody has any questions. And then we'll wrap this up here in just a minute and finish out with Q&A. Sorry, I just slurped my coffee. All right, well, let's move on. Let me just show you. I'm not going to bore you with each of these. I just wanted you to see how extensive it is, right? So most crypto ecosystems involve exchanges, wallets, blockchain platforms, stable coins, tooling, gaming and NFTs, DeFi. And this, by the way, was created in June of 2021. So tell me what's already been added to this between now and June of 2021 that definitely should exist on this sheet when describing the crypto ecosystem. What are some other things that are not here? Take a look at the yellow, what's in the yellow boxes, and tell me what you don't see on the page that should be there since 2021.
Artistic platforms.
All right.
For selling NFTs.
Yep. What else? You're exactly right. What else? We just talked about one of them, and actually June 2021 is when these launched, when they really became a usable tool for people to join together and invest in purposes together.
Metaverse?
Well, of course, DAOs as well.
Yeah, DAOs, right? DAOs are a big part of the crypto ecosystem now. Syndicate, a friend of mine, Ian Lee, founded Syndicate. And Syndicate is one of the better DAO tools. A friend of mine, Anna Gadovkinova, works for XDAO. XDAO is an incredible tool. It's multi-chain. And the last time I checked, they were leveraging 22 different blockchains to help people create DAOs. So that's a definite aspect of the ecosystem. I think you could put metaverse on there because of how it's being integrated. I think you could put AI in there as well. And I see your question, ABCDE. I like your ABCDE username there. I see your question, and we'll come back to the AI focused blockchain here in just a second. We should remove FTX. Like I said, this is June 2021. So you're absolutely right. that's a whole other conversation, right? We would need another hour and a half to unpack what happened there, but nonetheless. All right, so next slide. So this is the Ethereum exchange. Again, these are slides. They haven't been updated, and I'll tell you why. The reason I haven't updated them yet is because the group that put this out hasn't done a lot of updating of their visuals. And so, which is a bummer to me because they do such a good job of putting everything together on a page. But nonetheless, ETH obviously has a lot more than this now. But this gives you an example of how broad and vast each of the various elements of the ecosystem are. But I want you to notice what's going to happen here. See where, so ETH is just one vertical in the broader ecosystem, right? Look at the next slide. Binance, right? Another vertical in the ecosystem. And these are two of the top blockchains. Right now, in case you didn't know this, Ethereum has the most total value locked, or TVL. Have you heard that term before? TVL? So I'll put in the chat. So total value locked equals TVL, and it's the amount that the users of a blockchain have staked in that blockchain, right? It's locked up in that chain. Ethereum currently, by a long shot, has the most, right? Does anyone happen to know who has the second highest total value locked in their blockchain? Amount staked in their blockchain.
Tezos.
Say it again. Tezos. Tezos is not second. They do have a good amount locked, but they're not second. I love Tezos, by the way. Surprisingly, and I think most people are surprised by this, it's Tron. Tron has the second most total value locked of any blockchain on the planet, and it also moves the second most stable coins, only second to Ethereum. Binance is third, and then it goes from there. All right. So this is Binance's ecosystem and their vertical. Look at the next one. The next slide. It's Cardano, which I think will make a comeback. I think rightly so, people have criticized Cardano because they didn't deliver on some of the things that they said they would. But I think they'll make a comeback. You'll see some positive things from Cardano, or they'll be bought. It'll be interesting to see how things consolidate, because I think a lot of the blockchains will consolidate. What's the next one? Solana, I've already mentioned. You probably picked up on my a bit of disdain from Solana, but it's not that I think Solana has bad solutions. I actually think they have some really amazing solutions built and applications built. And I own some Solana NFTs. I own NFTs on 7 different blockchains. And so, like I believe in not only NFT technology first and foremost, but even in the use of how we can leverage them on multiple blockchains. Solana, though, has some serious security issues. Look at the next one. XRP, I mentioned to you already. Again, they get a lot of criticism, but whether you like them or not, they are going to be in the middle of how money moves internationally, and that's not going to change. They're going to be right in the middle of it. They've been at the last 4 major global summits with the top 8 economies in the world, the top 8 countries economically. They're not going anywhere, regardless of the SEC lawsuit and all of that. What's the next one? Polkadot. I really dig Polkadot. I don't know. Not only do they have a cool name, right? But they are doing some pretty amazing things. They have a high transaction rate. and they're integrating a lot of different aspects so that they can be interoperable and move money and data across various blockchains. They're doing some neat stuff. And then to answer the one question that I see, we'll come back again, A, B, C, D, E, to your AI question in a minute. But to answer the question on Solana, what I mean when I say they have serious security issues is that they've had to shut down or stop blockchain activity now multiple times because of various breaches or various issues in the way that the blockchain was operating through the distributed network. And so it isn't very secure, is what I mean by that. What I don't mean is that they have security issues like everyone showing up to rob them. That's not what I mean. What I mean is it isn't secure when the blockchain has to shut down. That's just not normal. And to shut down its activity. And so they've struggled, I think, with the way they've scaled so quickly. And by the way, FTX had a big part in that, in them scaling quickly. And so the background, they're trying to fight their way out of that hole of all the ways that they were associated with FTX. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense? Good stuff. All right. So the next slide, the Terra ecosystem. We probably should delete this one. I forgot to delete this one, but this one still does have some positives, even with all the negative elements that came last summer with some of the stuff that they were up to. But anyway, they're one of the major ecosystems still that does actually exist. The next one, the Tron ecosystem, right? I happen to work for these guys. And I'm not just putting this one in here. Like I told you, the data speaks for itself. Second total value locked, moved the second most stable coins of any blockchain. And just doing, we were the first blockchain to be named to be designated national blockchain for a sovereign nation. The island of Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica, named Tron its blockchain. And then also St. Martin's, I think it's the Dutch side of St. Martin's, not the French side. I need to look back to make sure I'm right on that. But St. Martin's is also announcing that. And then there's several others, Grenada and others that'll follow. And then we've got a few major announcements coming. I'll give you some alpha, I guess. We've got some major announcements coming with some other large countries adopting Tron. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to grow. But our ecosystem, to be candid, and I'll be vulnerable and honest with you, we are really strong from a infrastructure, a liquidity, a wallet standpoint. We're even strong from a storage standpoint because BitTorrent chain, it moves data between Binance, Ethereum, and Tron very rapidly. And so the BitTorrent chain is actually I think will end up in the next few years being a significant player in Oracle and data management. The DeFi side of it, as you can see in that block being so big, is really significant. Our stablecoin game is really significant. And we are growing in the gaming phase, which actually was originally a part of how Justin Sun envisioned Tron having a strong gaming phase. We're seeing some of that come back to life right now. The NFT game right now on Tron is weak, just being candid. And I hate that because, like I said, I've worked with multiple NFT projects, launched a Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter into music NFTs, and one of the most famous photographers into photography and art, fine art NFTs, and brand designers, and multiple people that I've worked with on their NFT projects who've done well. And so I love NFTs and believe in them, not just for the art, although I want to empower creators, but I think NFT technology will disrupt every single industry that you know. Real estate, healthcare, education, law, contractual concepts, and on and on and on and on. I think science, every aspect, fashion, every facet, every industry will be disrupted by the use and utility of NFT technology. Tron's game right now in that realm is weak. That's why we need you guys, right? So if you are thinking about a project, I'm not just plugging it. I really mean it. I tell every NFT creator I work with, that if you want to get in early in an NFT ecosystem and be a leader and a pioneer there, then Tron, ICP, Internet Computer Protocol, it's still a very early game there, almost like if you had gotten into Tezos about a year and a half ago. It's a very early in the game there, and a lot of neat things happening. So anyway, just so you know, that's one of the major ecosystems. I'll come back to it a little bit more in just a minute. And then the next one, Tezos, right? I think we all love Tezos. I know VCA has a lot of this there, and so I do too. I really do. I believe in them and what they're doing, and I think their ecosystem is very strong. Move on to the next one. Cosmos is one of my favorites because they focus on interoperability. So if you've noticed so far, it's really strange, isn't it? It's really strange that let me answer the question in the thing. It's called apNFT.io on Tron's marketplace for NFTs. They do have another one that's interoperable between multiple chains called Fuzzy Ocean, which is kind of a fun name. But Fuzzy Ocean I love Fuzzy Ocean because they operate between, I think it's 7 different blockchains. I can't remember, but I'll have to look back and see. But anyway, they do some good stuff too. Cosmos, though, I love because they believe in interoperability and they were created for it. If you notice all these slides, they're all different verticals, right? So what happened? Decentralization led to a bunch of people who believed in decentralization, but created centralized verticals that couldn't operate well with each other, right? And so unless you were a layer 2 building on one of these major layer 1s, you were basically building in a different vertical, in a different silo. And so what Cosmos is doing, what Tron is doing, what the Internet Computer Protocol is doing, you've got several that are really focused on interoperability. And that's one of the reasons that I'm high on Cosmos, Osmosis, some others that are big in what they're doing. And I know Polygon is a layer 2, Optimism is a layer 2 on Ethereum, but I think they also are both. Arbitrum, I think they all are very focused on interoperability as well. Next slide. Internet computer ecosystem. If you aren't familiar with ICP, I would challenge you to go get familiar with it, because they not only are, and by the way, I'm going to write the word interoperability in case anyone doesn't know what that is. But we can come back to that and you can ask it if you want. But the internet computer is a layer 0, a layer 1, and a layer 2, and maybe even more than that. And it's very significant technology that's going to end up integrating, I think, in a very cross-chain type of way, all the major blockchains. You can already move Bitcoin on ICP in a full integrated fashion. They're about to launch the full integration of Ethereum on ICP. And so that's why I say they're a layer 0. They truly are trying to build the decentralized version of the internet, which is what the internet was meant to be from the beginning when it was launched. And it became very centralized because of the major tech companies that ended up kind of owning the data, if that makes sense. And so ICP, I think, is going to be revolutionary in the way that it leads us forward. You can see some of the elements of their ecosystem, but I encourage you, even as artists and creators, to go find out what's happening from an NFT perspective and a creator perspective in ICP. The game is getting really strong there, and it's a good time to jump in. So see, I didn't just promote Tron. There you go. All right. Next one. Student Coin. I don't know if they're going to come back or not, but I love their concept. So pay attention to them. They want to see crypto being used on every major university campus across the world. And I'd love to see it too. I think they're doing some fun stuff. We'll see if they're successful. The next one. XRP Flare. How many of you, I'm curious, have even heard of the Flare network? Give me a hand or a heart or something in the chat if you have heard of it. How many of you heard of Flare network? All right, there's a few. Okay. And so here's what I would say. If you're not familiar with Flare, I would encourage you to at least go learn a little bit about it. They are like Cosmos and like Internet Computer. They're really focused on interoperability and everyday usage. And so they're not going to be, they're not out to just become the name brand blockchain. They're out to really integrate the best of the best from multiple blockchains. And so they've got a great concept. They're doing some neat work. I would definitely make sure they're on your radar. And then we've got a few more here and then we'll wrap up. I think we're doing good on time, right? We've got, because I know we go 32 more minutes, if I'm correct.
Yes, we have
All
an
right.
hour and a half, so we have
Yeah,
about
so
a half more hour.
Good stuff. Yep. So we're doing well on time. Osmosis, they're on Cosmos. They're one of my favorite applications because of their user friendliness, and I dig their art. I think they have a lot of fun art. This was one of their Halloween ones, I think, from a little while back. But they always change their user interface up with really cool art. But they're incredible in liquidity and movement of resources. I've actually done, I think at one point we were making 80% APY on one of the liquidity pools there. And the more and more people got into it, so then it dropped to like, I think 17%. But early on, it was significant how things were happening with Osmosis. They do some good stuff. The next one. Alliance Block. I put this one on here to give you guys an example of an enterprise blockchain, right? What's another enterprise blockchain? And when I say enterprise, I mean one that major companies and major elements of infrastructure in our economy will use. Does anybody know any other major enterprise blockchains out there? I'm curious. You can either say it or type it in the chat, either one. All right, so we've mentioned one already. I've mentioned it a few times. Anchor. Anchor is an enterprise solution. They want to allow for Web3 development for major enterprise. They also have a significant focus in gaming and things like that. Another major enterprise is VeChain, right? You'll see them, I think, be significant. Vagabond is another one. These are all major enterprise solutions. I think you could argue that Tezos is positioning themselves as a major enterprise solution. And so it'll be interesting to see how elements of our infrastructure. So here's what I mean by that, like supply chain, data movement, travel, on civil maintenance, like how things in a city run, city automation, right, of the various elements of a city. I think you're going to see some of these major enterprise blockchains begin to be leveraged in some of those types of use cases. Okay. I think we're getting close here. What's the next one? We already mentioned Cosmos. This is a fun slide. You'll see it if you look back through the PDF. What's the next one? Internet Computer we mentioned. And by the way, I hate it, but CryptoHeat.io actually just got taken down because they're probably going to end up selling to someone else. But used to be one of my favorite crypto market cap comparisons. So let me just tell you this: the market cap. What is the market cap? The market cap is the amount of tokens or crypto that's circulating, and the amount of fiat dollar equivalent that it is averaged into, based upon how much is being moved and invested and locked into it, right? And so it's kind of volume and usage and value all put together. That's what a market cap is. So the market cap for all of crypto at one point in 2021, I think it was, got over 2 trillion, which is crazy, right? Recently, we got back above 1 trillion. So you can see that the overall market cap, $1 trillion, the overall market cap is healthy. And investment in crypto over the last year has been huge. It hasn't been, even though there was a crypto winter in 2022, people continued to invest in the future of it. All right. Look at the next couple slides. I think you'll find these interesting. So the top 12, this was in comparison in 2020. In 2020, the total crypto market cap was 392 billion, right? Look at this next slide. In 2021, Ethereum alone, like the blockchain Ethereum alone, moved $11.6 trillion. Visa only moved 10.4. So just process that for a minute. Like the market cap, I told you, is now above $1 trillion. In 2020, it was 392 billion. Visa moves money for everyone, right? Ethereum moved more money than Visa in 2021. You can Google search it. You can see it. And so you can see the adoption, the tipping point that's occurring, right? Let's look at the next slide. Some use cases. We'll run through these real quick, and then we'll because this will hopefully inspire some questions. I encourage you, go back. We won't go through this slide because there's so much there. Go back and look at this slide. Hopefully it'll be inspirational for you, not only in the way that you are a creator and an artist, but even in the way that you're an entrepreneur. Because if you are a creator and artist and getting into this space, I encourage you to grow your entrepreneurial skills, grow the ability to help envision something and then strategize for it and implement for it, grow your ability to create a business that generates revenue and pull people around you that help speak into that. And you'll find that through your creativity, you might create unique opportunity in the midst of all of the variety of use cases that are coming out regarding blockchain technology and NFT technology. All right. Next one. Obviously, you can see right now what the top use cases are, but I think there are a whole lot more than that. I think every industry will be disrupted. What's the next one? So that's where we are. All right. So let's take the last 25 minutes and just Q&A. And so I'll ask questions. I'll come back, and I can go ahead and start the Q&A by answering the AI question that was asked earlier by ABCDE. So the artificial intelligence, and specifically you asked the question, what is an AI-focused blockchain, right? So it's basically a blockchain that is fully integrating the ability to leverage artificial intelligence tools in all that the blockchain does. So you might say, well, why does that matter? Well, let's take a decentralized finance use case, for example. In the way that money is moved and invested, artificial intelligence, if you use artificial intelligence in data analysis and then in data mining and data response, then you'll be able to come up with better ways to know when to trade, how much to trade, based upon all the various trends in the market. So imagine being able to put artificial intelligence in the seat, like in the chair of your investment strategy. And artificial intelligence, unlike any human can do, is constantly assessing and adapting strategy and providing feedback in a way that we have done as humans when we've just done basic data analysis. But AI can do it in an automated and an expeditious fashion. They can do it very quickly. And that's just one of many use cases. But if you leverage AI for data analysis and then for data response, then you're going to be able to see how it can be used very efficiently and effectively to better the investment strategies and the DeFi strategies for money movement across blockchains, right? So there's a lot of other ways that you can do it. What if you're creating social media on the blockchain, right? District, DIS, is one of my favorites. It's on the Internet Computer Protocol. District is a social media, is fully on the blockchain. Like none of their data is off the blockchain. It's all fully on the blockchain. And what if you could use artificial intelligence to engage with socials, to see what trends are, and then to leverage all of the things going on the blockchain to better provide users with the ability to market what they're promoting or to talk about what they're talking about. AI can help assess what the trends are and assess the ways that you can better leverage what you're doing through social media. Another thing is if you've got services, right, and you can help people with blockchain, NFT, creator services, you can leverage AI to be able to find leads, to find opportunity, and then to help you actually get paid in a more expeditious and automated fashion. Smart contract deployment, right? Artificial intelligence can study in instantaneous fashion very rapidly. It can study the data that you use to create various smart contracts and then make adjustments based upon its analysis of how those were deployed and how they were used. And so it allows us to create smarter smart contracts, if that makes sense. Does that somewhat answer your question? ABCD? Good stuff. That may have been more than you wanted to hear, but there you go. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think some people are criticizing it, but I think it's healthy, and if we can keep it healthy, right, and not let it just become the next Terminator, like the Terminator movies, then I think we'll see some good stuff with it. What other questions do you guys have about the crypto and the DeFi ecosystems? Anything at all? Good question. So yes, they are physical. You can actually get one with Uphold. Uphold, I think, has a really great usage. Depending upon where you are in the world, Huobi has one. And Huobi isn't in the North American market yet, but I think they are in South America, Europe, Asia, pretty positive. Coinbase, from an American market standpoint, has a good debit card. And by the way I use them, I use them for what was I going to say? I don't use these tools for Uphold, Huobi, or Coinbase from a card standpoint. I don't use them to keep all my crypto in those. I move crypto into these when I need to spend it with the card, if that makes sense. So I don't just keep my money in these exchanges, because you can see that negative things can happen there, like we saw with FTX. I keep my crypto on a Ledger cold wallet, but if you're going to be spending it, Ledger, by the way, is coming out with a way to do it as well with a card, but that's still in process as far as its efficiency. But right now, with Uphold, Huobi, and Coinbase, those are examples. Blockbank is another example of one that's doing it, where you can get a crypto debit card and spend your crypto in everyday life. that answer your question?
I have a question about the proliferation of these variety of blockchains. Surely the sheer number of them must prove to be a kind of intimidating factor in the adoption of the technology, as people are overburdened with choices about what blockchain to commit to, which function or use case it might represent, be most appropriate for. How would you foresee this proliferation continuing? Is it likely that there will be a shakedown of blockchains? Some will become increasingly pertinent, others less relevant. Just the sheer number of them, though, might actually prove to be itself an intimidating degree of variety, of overchoice for users.
Yeah, it's a great question. I do think how you described it. Well, I'll be blunt in my response. I personally think anywhere from 85 to 90% of current blockchains will either consolidate, like come together with others, or go extinct. I know that sounds like a lot, but I do think that we'll see a major consolidation. Now, notice I didn't say they'll all go, 85 to 90% will all go extinct, because I personally think because of the use cases, we need a lot of them. But I think you're going to see, that's why I think the interoperability piece is so key. You're going to see lots of them begin to purpose together. And then that's going to then shape even the way that they're structured and the way that they're used. And so I think you're going to see that over the next 7 years. You'll see a lot of them that have been used and utilized and created. They're all hoping to get the right contract or find the right use case, or that that, let's say, for example, Vagabond, which is based, I'm trying to remember where they're based. I know it's in Europe, but I'm trying to remember which country it is. But let's say hypothetically that Vagabond all of a sudden gets announced, that Germany is going to leverage Vagabond for their civil management, right? Like, of all the things that go with running a country, they're going to now use Vagabond. By the way, this isn't true. It's just a hypothetical, right? So nobody go and quote me on that. But let's say hypothetically that Germany is going to leverage Vagabond for their civil management needs as a country, then Vagabond obviously would have a break that they were hoping for and become a major player in the blockchain case. Does that make sense? Like, I think you're going to see use case begin to filter out, and you'll see one of those that actually bring use cases even consolidate together to be more effective and efficient, and to create some really unique decentralized community.
Thanks for that answer. As I say, just the sheer variety of those blockchains seems to be an intimidating feature of them, and not knowing precisely then which choice might be worth the effort. I mean, if you were an artist and decided to sell your NFTs on Solana, that might now be considered a potentially poor decision to have made, at least in the short term. Whereas, choosing one of the other blockchains available might have been a cannier choice, and having to be wise enough to anticipate the success of any particular chain. You own NFTs on several, you said.
Yes.
Could you perhaps talk a little bit about your impressions of the artistic communities in each of those chains, how they thrive, or what their scale might be, how people have uh, um, um, behaved on them, if only because I think for many of us here, we're pretty familiar with Tezos and Ethereum, but the other ones perhaps not so immediately obvious to all of us as being necessarily useful. So I'm curious to know if you have impressions about each of these blockchains and their suitability for artists.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'll answer because of this for the sake of time. I'll just list out the ones that I personally are and that I either have NFTs on, which I do. I think I have them on all the ones I'm about to list, or um, that I believe are leveraging themselves to welcome the kind of creator community that will really help creators thrive. Right. Um, I personally think Polygon is one of those. I think I know that it's a layer 2 ETH, but ETH platform. But I will say that Polygon, I think, is even what they've done specifically with Reddit and Starbucks, just as two simple use cases, demonstrates to me that they're serious about providing a Web3 opportunity for creators, for companies, and for major communities and brands to thrive. And so I think you're going to see their NFT marketplace really continue to strengthen, although I personally think it's already pretty strong. Obviously, Ethereum, right? I mean, we know that, right? Everybody in here, like you said, already knows that. Tezos really is one of my favorites. And when I say Tezos, I probably ought to clarify. I specifically mean like object and FX hash as two that I've used the most on Tezos, but those are, I just think Tezos does some amazing stuff. On Ethereum, by the way, I think Art Blocks has one of the most unique communities. I think Async has one of the most unique communities. Those two are on Ethereum. And I love what they're doing. One of the people that focuses on Ethereum and Polygon and was one of the creators of the first NFT company, his Twitter is, I think, at NFT Land, if I remember right, but his nickname is Rizzle. Pay attention to him. He always is ahead of the curve, and he has been since 2012. So I would pay attention to him. I always give shout outs to him. He's a friend. And somebody I really believe in. He's funny. He's sarcastic. He does a lot of satire, but he's very creative, always ahead of the curve. The other ones that I really see, I think ICP or Internet Computer, I think it's growing significantly. And their marketplace, the ICP marketplace, there's two of them that I pay attention to, Entrepot and Yumi. And then with Tron, right now, like I said already, you've got Ape NFT and Fuzzy Ocean. The reason I think Tron actually has a lot of potential with NFTs is because of how much money exists in its ecosystem. And you know as well as I do that the reason pop artists, for example, with music, do well is because they create music that people who have a lot of disposable income want to buy. Right. And so whether it's their concert tickets or their merch or they pay for streaming or whatever, you're going to see the super fan. And this is where I think each of you, if you aren't paying attention to the idea of super fan, you're going to see in Web 2. And I'll get back to finishing out that list, but this made me think of something I think worth mentioning. In Web 2, everyone went after the most fans, right? Like get as many followers as you can. And I think in Web 3, you're going to see a complete pivot to the super fan. And I'm talking about maybe no more than 500 to 1,000 that you constantly engage with and create for. And I've already seen with the music NFT, for example, artists that I've helped, I've already seen them make more money selling to 25 collectors than they did gaining 1 million streams. So process that, right? like as you guys are thinking about your strategy, you want to really you want to be real aware of the fact that you need to go after the super fan. Who are the people that really care about you? They want to invest in your art. They believe in what you're doing. How do you engage with them? How do you reward them? How do you honor them? Right? How do you give them ability to create, to be a part of what you're doing? I would suggest really paying attention to that. I think that's why I say ICP and Tron are so significant and will be in the future of NFTs, because of how much money gets moved there. I think Binance, same reason, is a place where you want to pay attention to from an NFT marketplace perspective. I'm not engaged with Binance a whole lot, but it's not because I don't like them. It's just I'm more engaged engaged in the other tech communities. But Binance, like Tron, moves so much money that you've got to pay attention to what's happening there. Again, it's that pop artist mentality of seeing where the money is spent, right? As far as that. And I know it's not just about money. So don't hear me as being some like greedy, money hungry, grubby, used car salesman, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying from a strategic standpoint, pay attention to where people who believe in blockchain are putting their money, right? Because that's what commerce is all about. If you expect to have a living off of the things that you create, then look for where commerce is happening naturally, right? And go engage there. And the blockchain gives you that opportunity. And then secondly, go after the super fans that are there. The last couple that I'll say, I do think Optimism has a strong game and they're building a real strong NFT game. Obviously, Gala and all the gaming and entertainment pieces, entertainment blockchains are going to have a really unique opportunity for creators. That's a layer 2 on Ethereum. Optimism obviously is a layer 2 on Ethereum. I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of Coinbase, but I thought it was really impressive that Base, when they launched their blockchain Base recently, that they built it on an Optimism tech stack. So I think they have awakened to the reality that they've got to create a welcoming platform for creators and for companies. And I think you're going to see a significant movement there over the next 2 years because people are going to realize how easy it is to use Base. The one that Coinbase just launched. So trying to remember, I feel like I'm forgetting one. Let me think for a second. I do have some NFTs on Cardano. I told you I have some NFTs on Solana, and I still think their NFT community is strong on Solana. I just hope that they can work out the kinks and what's going on with their network. Yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting one, but that's a good start. I think if you can kind of give some energy into some of those, pay attention to what they're doing. I hope that helps. I hope it answers the question.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Any final questions before we wrap? All right, if there are none, I've really enjoyed hanging with you guys today, and I'm going to get back to doing. I've got some reports and PRs to do for Tron today, and to write. And so, all that to say, I would love to stay connected. On Twitter, I am LiveCent is my username. You can also, I think, see that right in my. If you tap on my, you can see all that information there too in my profile. So that's what I am on Twitter. I'm Jason C. Dukes on Instagram and LinkedIn. You might say, are people still using LinkedIn? Yes, actually, a lot of people. In fact, there's a huge Web3 community on LinkedIn. And so if you're not connected with LinkedIn, it may be worth your time to increase your platform presence there. I think a lot more creators and especially companies who might hire out creators because they're going to need them, right? They won't know how to create well for Web3. And so some of you are going to be able to probably even leverage your own strategic gifts and creativity to assist in that. It could be a good place for you to make sure you're engaging there on LinkedIn. All right. Yeah, stay connected. You're welcome to, because of all the big NFT projects I was in, I quit letting people DM me directly in Discord and Telegram. But if you'll communicate with me in the channel, like in the fifth residency channel, or even through Borea, if you want to communicate with me in that way, I'll definitely reach out and we can connect. Want to make myself available that way. But on Telegram, I'm also Jason C. Dukes. But there again, I didn't allow people to DM me because I got spammed so much during all those projects. So let me know through one of the other channels that you're trying to connect, and I'll reach out to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jason.